as we can make events more transparent so that we can see that we're observing the surface and surfaces are not solid. That surfaces are always a play or an expression of a more dynamic movement, a more dynamic space. That increases our degrees of freedom and enables us to respond from a more open condition. More open conditions are the conditions of compassion, love, peace, harmony. That way we can respond rather than react. At this stage in our lives, it's a good time to do it. Sometimes we think, we should have done this years ago. I wish I had done this years ago. I said something to a fellow the other day. He said, gee, I wish you had told me that 64 years ago. But now is the time. Younger people are in the process of establishing themselves. At this time in our lives, we can recognize nothing is established. And there's something freeing about recognizing that nothing is established. And what we want to do is to be open and responsive to situations and circumstances and not construing them in such a personally constricted, contracted way about how this is affecting me. The difference between a reaction and a response is that reactions are to how this is affecting me. A response is how do I address this? How do I address this? How can I be responsive? What can I offer? What can I bring to this situation and circumstance, which is different than, do you know what this is doing to me? So that's the difference between a reaction and a response. We can all be more responsive for more open conditions. And I know that this is our desire. This is why our circle is here. This is what our collective is wanting to promote in the individual and in the collective. And it's meetings like this and other meetings and other studies where we're seeking to outgrow ourselves. If we think of personality not as our identity, if we think of personality as practiced pattern of protection, personality as practiced pattern of protection, it's not our identity. We can't outgrow the practiced patterns because the conditions under which they were initially established usually are no longer operative. If we call our personality ourself, guess what? But if we see personality, why would we continue to be prisoners of yesterday's protection? The personality has two functions. One is to protect itself, and the other is to be seen. We can relax that tendency as we recognize nothing is established. So I take a morning walk, and I walk by some houses that have barking dogs. And I'm aware of what houses they are, and I walk to the other side of the road, so they bark anyway. And they're in the yard, and they're barking as though they possess the area that I'm walking through. And I think to myself, oh, they think they own the street. And then I think they're taking possession of this territory. And then I think, well, I take possession of lots of things too. In fact, I think this is my thought. So I was contemplating that when the owner because he thinks he owns the dog. The dog thinks he owns the street. But this is all being done with smoke and mirrors. So the owner of the dog comes out and he says something to me about, and I say, well, and I smile and I say, well, you know, your dog thinks he owns the street. And he says, oh no, that's not it. He just wants you to know he's there. Oh. He just wants me to know he's there. So how much of our activity is done in order to be known that we're there? All right, so now if we see our activities as either taking possession of, ownership of, or wanting to be recognized and seen, and if we recognize that as a tendency of mind, a tendency of behavior, and if it doesn't seem to be particularly serving us or useful anymore, we can smile. By all means, be lighthearted with the work. This really deserves a good laugh. This is not serious work where we beat ourselves because, oh, I'm still being self-centered. I have to get over this so that I can be enlightened. It's not that way. Be lighthearted, recognize the tendency, relax the tendency, release to a larger space and more energetic presence, enabling more open condition and human responsiveness. So that could be the next step. After that, we'll become enlightened.